Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video without any interruptions, and then I'll go back and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. This particular video, I was not able to find the originating source from the governmental entity. This is from Pulaski County Sheriff's Office. I think that might be Pulaski County, Georgia. I'm not 100% sure which state it is. Just the agency is called Pulaski County Sheriff. I wasn't able to find the government site that shows this video. This video was hosted over on a YouTube channel called Leo Perspective. So this is where this video is coming from. Without further ado, here we go.
You good? Good. What's up, young buck? You got probation?
No, I ain't looking at you. We should call the gun about it. That girl shit, but I was the people selling it. I don't belong to them. They still talking.
No, that. Okay. Maybe that your gas machine is hurting. Maybe you can get out for it. What'd you say, OJ? My suit. Hey, you see a shoe back there? Where is it? Oh, I'm gonna catch you, baby. I'm finna shoot your bitch ass. I ain't got my ready though. Hey, can you call the police for me? Call the police for me. Hey, call the police. Call the police. What way it go? This way? You got your phone? God damn. Hey, which way it go? This way? God damn. Hey, bro. Which way you go? Nah, which way you go?
Went straight through the alley and cut that way. What you
your
need?
Phone? My damn radio came.
Hold on. Damn, man, I tried to come behind you and get him.
I don't know where he went. Hey, man, what I need to dial?
They didn't sign up. What's the number?
501.
Yeah.
340 7050.
750?
Yeah. What was his name?
I don't know the right boy name. Damn, I tried to get him.
Hello? Hey, Hook. The wheelchair dude got up and ran. Yeah. I couldn't catch his ass. And my radio was in the water. I had my camera on though. The wheelchair dude. I couldn't catch him there. Till they pulled off. Yeah. I can't even remember his name. He on the road. All right, which way you go?
Keep straight to the right. In front of him, building. Here I go. Now, one of the inmates that took off running, I tried to help Lord then.
Yeah.
All right, Lord, man.
All right.
Hey, this is Peggy, man.
That nigga had all that shit on. Yep. My damn radio came off my belt. Hey, he took off, man. The wheelchair dude ran. He had a neck brace on and all that shit.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Didn't need that wheelchair very much, did he?
Hell no. Hey. Dude ran, man. Dude ran, man. Yeah, where my radio? Yes, he did. Dude ran. Hell yeah. What? He took off? Yeah, right straight up this street. Oh, yeah, man.
What? You're doing the wheelchair, man.
Dude took off. Yeah, the wheelchair dude.
I don't mean to laugh.
Oh.
Are you fucking around right now?
Yeah, they say went that way. But go straight one. Hold up. We can't say some with inmates. I can get off.
This dang light turn.
272 to transport. Hold on.
Tell Saul, man.
I already called him.
Oh.
See, my radio had came off in here.
We gone. That dang light take you forever.
Nah, he gone. I couldn't. There wasn't nothing wrong with it.
He had a brake car. You couldn't catch him that day.
He didn't have none of that on when he ran.
No, he took it off and was gone.
Yes. The feds.
We can't go that way anyway.
Drop the feds off. Or stay locked up.
The dude.
What's up?
We can't go that way.
I couldn't catch that dude. He jumped the rail. It's on my camera, bro.
Oh, bust that, man.
He jumped the rail, kicked his shoe had came off. I been down to get his shoe. He just ran.
He took off on you, man.
Yeah. Should have had cuffed him to the wheelchair.
Yeah. Dang, it's
They gonna say that too.
Yeah, they gonna say that, bro. They gonna say why y'all, you know what I'm saying?
I'm like, he had a new brace, he couldn't move his arms. That's why I ain't cuffed.
Yeah, they gonna get both of us for that, man.
Yeah.
I'm already, we gonna probably get rolled up, man.
Yeah.
We gonna get rolled up.
Yeah, I should have cuffed his ass.
Yeah. And you know what? I thought about it. Touching fall my first mind, bro. Man. It's still going. Hold on. We was in transport, man.
Call Brian one.
It's already on there.
All right, let's get into it. Well, go to the beginning here. And of course it.
What's up, young buck?
So it appears as though this is a transport van for taking prisoners to court. Typically, sheriff's offices will be responsible for transporting people to different places after they've been detained. So even if it was something like a city police department or a state police agency that arrested someone and put them in jail, it's generally the responsibility of the sheriff to transport that person to the courts, take them to the hospital, and provide a deputy to watch over them in the hospital. Typically, sheriff's offices are responsible for managing the jails, and they are also responsible for protecting the courts. So generally there will be bailiffs who work inside a courthouse. They work for the sheriff's office, but they work inside the courthouse to protect the judges and everything in there. Which, realistically, the judge and everything, although they're elected locally for those districts and those circuits, the courthouse is really a part of the state. So it's kind of an odd setup where you have the sheriff's office protecting the courthouse, but the courthouse isn't even a county, truly a true county building, if that makes kind of sense. If you really look at a lot of the layouts of stuff as far as entities, you'll be surprised that it's not what you thought it is. For example, and this is kind of going off on a rant, for example, volunteer fire departments. A lot of people don't know that a lot of volunteer fire departments are not governmental entities. They're nonprofit organizations. They're basically private companies, the same as like Walmart is a private company, but they typically get governmental perks. For example, they'll get official license plates for those vehicles, and those vehicles get to fall under the county insurance. Sometimes that county may provide a building to them or provide some monetary assistance with getting equipment, but the private company, the non-profit group, will raise a lot of that themselves. Schools, like school districts. Technically, school districts are not a part of county government. Like, you would never see a county magistrate or judge executive or anything like that, someone who's in charge of the county, being able to tell a high school principal what to do, because they don't fall under that chain of government. So anyway, that's kind of like a random little tidbit of info. But sheriff's offices, like I said, are responsible for transports and jails and generally the courts, on top of having deputies patrolling the road. Now, the qualifications and the standards vary. So usually in order to be able to work the road, you have to be a certified peace officer, or be what some areas call post-certified, basically having gone through the academy and be trained to work the street. To be able to work in the courthouse, even though you work for the sheriff's office and you may be considered a deputy, depending on where you're at, then the standards are different. They're a little bit less. So the people who work in the courthouse don't have to go through the same full-length academy as the road deputies do. They may have their own training to go through that lasts a couple weeks or something like that, and they may go to the same area that the road deputies go to, but it's completely different stuff. The jails that these sheriff's offices operate, those deputies, same thing. They don't have to go through the academy like a road deputy would. So although they are a sheriff's employee, they're sheriff's deputy, they're not the same as a road deputy. And I would say that for sure this guy is not a road deputy. I would say he was probably hired to work either within the jail or the courthouse, or this could be just sort of a subset of the road that does transports and stuff, and they don't have to do the same academy as the road guys do. That is pretty typical with a lot of sheriff's offices. And that's one thing I know people, they don't understand that. All they see is the person wearing this uniform that looks exactly just like the road deputy has. Same color, same badge, even says sheriff on it. but yet they're not the same. And people, they have no idea. They don't know what the differences in that kind of stuff is. And it makes it even more confusing when they look exactly the same. But just know they're not exactly the same. Now, is that to say that road deputies are always going to be better than the corrections people? No, absolutely not. There are some road cops who suck at their job, and they would probably most likely suck at working in a jail too. There's a lot of people who work within the corrections and the jail stuff that they just simply flat out suck at their job, and they don't need to be there. That's not all, but there's a lot of them like that. And then there's some who work within a jail who would make good street cops. And then there's some who work in a jail that not only would make good street cops, but they go on to make good street cops. A lot of sheriff's offices will kind of recruit people and use the jail or the courthouse as the stepping stone. It's kind of like their dirty recruiting tactic, I guess, if you would. So a lot of people, when they get hired, they start off in a jail or a courthouse with the promise that, oh, you do your time, you'll go to the road. That's typical. So this deputy is performing some type of court or corrections type of function or role, and he has taken this guy to court. The guy is in a wheelchair. You see he has a neck brace on, and later he talks about the guy having an arm brace on. This dude obviously came from a jail setting, and he came out of a transport van. He mentions later on, should have cuffed him. Yeah, you most definitely should have cuffed him. So just because someone has an arm brace or a neck brace on and they're in the wheelchair, that does not mean at all that they are incapable of running or fighting. They can very well fight. So if this guy is to be going to court and everything and should be restrained in some way, if he has a cast on his arm, then obviously it's going to be very difficult to put a cuff around a cast or something like that. And he said you don't get to see him very well after he takes off, so I don't know what exactly it is he had on his arm.
Hey, you see a shoe back there? Where is that?
Maybe this thing, the little brace. So yeah, that's definitely not enough to make me think this dude's really jacked up. So he should have been cuffed. He should have had shackles on, and he should have had regular handcuffs on. Shackles for sure. I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, when you're transporting people, they're in a jail, you take them out, put them in a van, you start moving around, they need to be restrained in some way. Because they could very easily try and take off running, just like this guy did. So shackles need to be put on. A belly chain should typically be put on. And the belly chain has a little metal piece that sticks out that you can put the handcuffs, slip them through, and basically the handcuffs are attached to the belly chain at that point. And it keeps their wrists cuffed down to their belly area, and they can't raise both hands up and come down and hit you with double fist, or even hit you with the cuffs and attack you that way. It really restricts and minimizes their movement. For people who have casts on their arms, and you cannot put a cuff around it because obviously it won't fit, you can still utilize the belly chain, wrap that around them, lock it in place, and then take the cuff, put the cuff on the belly chain loop piece, and then just cuff their free hand that's not in a cast to their belly. Now, granted, they can still use that casted arm as a weapon but at least they're only going to have one limb loose, and it's going to make them a lot less effective fighter. Anytime you do transports, people need to be restrained, even if they appear to be injured or anything like that. Even old people, like some person who looks like their grandpa or grandma, and they have a cane, or they kind of walk with a limp or something like that. Don't be fooled by that. They need to be restrained as well. So this was a huge failure in transporting this guy. He was not properly restrained. And when they talked about at the end, like, you're going to get rode up, yeah, you're most definitely getting rode up there, bud. So he takes off and he starts to pursue. Now, it's obvious that this guy had the advantage of getting to initiate the action, right? So anytime you get to initiate action, you get a head start on someone, because now you're forcing other people to react to what you're doing. So you'll always be ahead of the curve when you get to initiate action. So he gets to initiate action and take off. Now the deputy has to respond to that. What slows the deputy down is this railing. He now has to go over the railing, and it's not very easy for him to push the wheelchair out of the way because it's so close to the door and this railing goes so close to the door. Either way, he's at a disadvantage because of this barrier right here that he now has to go over. So that, of course, gives the bad guy an extra advantage.
I'm gonna catch you, man.
It's hard to tell, but it looks like he's all the way up here.
Shoot your bitch ass. I'm gonna catch you, man. I'm gonna shoot your bitch ass.
And you see his neck brace.
I'm gonna shoot your bitch ass.
There's his neck brace right there laying on the ground. So this dude has shed his neck brace, and he's just full sprint. You can hear a lot of clinking noises as this deputy is running. Those are either extra cuffs that he may have on his belt. Sometimes you'll see people working in these environments, although they will have a cuff case and stuff like that, but they'll also carry like multiple sets of wrist cuffs and ankle cuffs, the shackles on their belt. Or it could be a large set of keys, and the keys could have belly chain lock key on it. It could have obviously handcuff key, vehicle key, and it could have like holding cell keys on it as well, so that when he actually gets into the courthouse and takes this guy to the holding area, he can open up a holding cell, stick him in there, and lock the door. So it's one of the two. It's either extra cuffs or it's keys, a large key thing on his belt.
I ain't got my radio.
So he says that he dropped his radio, but we find out later that when he gets into the vehicle, he reaches into the cup holder area and gets his radio out. So he got out of the vehicle without his radio, and this tells me that this is a complacency type of issue. Like, he's used to keeping that radio in the little cup holder thing, because they probably don't really talk on the radio a whole lot, and the task that they do doesn't require them to make very quick radio broadcasts or anything like a normal officer would be having to do. So I would say that he most likely, out of complacency, took the radio off and put it in the cup holder thing. And that's probably how they normally operate. And they probably just walk people from the van to inside and never really have to be on the radio a whole lot, because the job is mostly mundane. You just walk people from point A to point B. And usually there's no major issues. So that's what makes me think that this was a complacency issue, and he's just been so used to doing what he's doing that it's comfortable to him at this point. He also, I don't believe, has his cell phone with him. Now, how's he going to communicate with anybody? He's not. There's no way for him to communicate with anybody at this point. Which he can still continue to pursue. It's just obviously going to put him at a disadvantage. So your radio always needs to be on you. It doesn't need to be taken out and put in a cup holder or set in between the seats or put in a middle console for comfort reasons. You need to suck it up and wear the damn radio. And it needs to be in a pouch, like an actual legit radio pouch. You don't need to be taking the radio clip and clip it into your pocket or anything like that, because it's just going to make the radio able to fall out easier. Cell phone. Why he doesn't have a cell phone on him, I don't know. I mean, cell phones are pretty much like a given with it being on people. People are so used to being on their phones all the time. I'm really surprised he didn't have it on them. Some people, they have like separation issues when they don't have their phone on them. And a cell phone is a good way to have backup communication in the event your radio fails. So you should always get in the habit of keeping the radio on you. Even if the agency has a policy on you can't have your phone out or anything like that. That would be something that me personally, I would carefully ignore that policy. Obviously would not make it a habit of being on it a whole lot or at all during times when you should not be on it, because that's probably what those policies are for, to prevent people from playing on their phone while they're doing the transport with prisoners in the back. So obviously, if you're going to break a policy that says you can't have your phone on transport or you can't have it out during transport, whatever, follow that to an extent. But if it says something about you can't have it, carefully, I would recommend carefully ignoring that. And just keep it in your pocket. Don't ever play with it. Keep it on silent. Turn the vibrate off. Just have it in the pocket. That way, something does happen, you do have backup radio communications capability or backup communications capability.
Call the police for me. Hey, can you call the police for me? Call the police for me.
You are the police. That's something else that is kind of unique when it comes to these sheriff's offices that have people who working in the jail and everything. Even though they're employees of the sheriff's office and their uniforms may say deputy and stuff like that, a lot of these people don't even think of themselves as the police, even though they are the police. Even here in Kentucky. So Kentucky's a little bit different. The sheriff's office does not control the jail. There's an elected position called jailer that oversees the jail, and all the deputies under that jailer are law enforcement. They are peace officers. They have the same arrest powers as state police, city police, sheriff, whatever. They're just obviously more concerned with being in the jail. There's actually some counties where deputy jailers will go out and ride with sheriff deputies and augment some of those patrol functions for them and help them out with low staffing. But anyway, they're peace officers. They have arrest powers. They can arrest and charge anyone within the county. Typically, the jailers don't entertain that because that would require them to have to work overtime when they go to court and miss a shift in the jail, and they really don't like that because they're short-staffed a lot as it is anyway. But they are peace officers, and they have arrest powers. There was something not too long ago, a person that I knew of working there, I forgot what the circumstances were, but it was something that they were out in public and they were in uniform, and something had happened, and it was some type of wording or whatever that they said that they would have to call the police. And I remember kind of laughing about that after hearing about it or reading about it, and I thought, you are the fucking police. Like, you're a fucking sworn law enforcement officer. But that, for a lot of those people, like, they don't have that mindset. And when they hire people to work into a jail and stuff like that, a lot of these people, they don't have a police mindset. They don't even have a tactical mindset. A lot of correctional facilities will hire people just as a body. Like, you got a pulse and you can write your name on a log sheet. Guess what? You got a fucking job. There are some real ate up soup sandwich motherfuckers who work in jails and prisons. But it can be a normal thing to have a lot of these people who work in these environments who they don't even see themselves as law enforcement. It's just a job to them, and the job is just one and the same as if they was working in a factory.
Hey, call the police. Call. You got your phone? Hey, bro. What's your phone?
So he seems to know this guy somehow. I don't know how they're related to each other or what their acquaintances is at, but he seems to stop and kind of provide some help. He even alluded to the fact that he was going to try and catch the guy as well, or at least making an attempt to. He could be someone who works in the courthouse, a clerk, or he could be a public defender, an attorney, or something like that. No idea what his relationship is, but they obviously kind of know each other, it seems like, and he at least tried to help. That's a good thing.
Come behind you and get him.
I don't know where he went. What was his name?
And I tried to get him.
Hello? I'm a camera. Catch Bill. Had all that shit on. Hey, he took off, man. The wheelchair dude ran. He had a neck brace on and all that shit.
Did he really?
Did he really? And you can tell that the wheelchair's been moved. So as people have been going in this way, they've had to move the wheelchair out of their way and push it to this corner. Obviously, there's no radio laying on the ground, so he didn't drop it. Like I said, it's still in the van.
Yeah.
Didn't need that wheelchair very much, did he?
Hell no. Hey. Dude ran, man. Dude ran, man.
So there is a vest laying here on the seat. It has to be his. Like, I don't know whose else it would be. It has to be him. Why is he not wearing this vest? That's a bit of a concern to me. This is equipment that he needs to be wearing, but because of complacency and a lack of good oversight and accountability, he's not wearing this damn thing and is just kind of laying it off to the side, being lazy about it. Like, if you're working in this kind of industry where you're going to be dealing with criminals and you're armed, you need to be wearing your vest. There's really no excuse for people who just don't wear their vest at work. If you don't wear your vest, you're just being fucking lazy. Plain and simple.
Yeah, where's my radio? Yes, he did.
So there's his radio. He grabs it out.
Hell yeah. What? He took off? Yeah, ride straight up this street. Oh, yeah, man.
You're doing the wheelchair race.
Dude took off. Yeah, the wheelchair dude.
All right, so that right there. Pay attention to the driver. I'll rewind this.
Wheelchair race.
Dude took off. Yeah, the wheelchair dude.
All right, so the inmate in the back is laughing about this dude taking off running, and the driver is turning back around, looking at him, smiling and chuckling. I don't like that one bit. That kind of makes me think that there's a lack of professionalism going on here. And what I talked about earlier about how some agencies will hire just damn near anybody to work in the fucking jail, that's kind of what I'm thinking is going on right here. Like, there's no need for him to be cutting up laughing with his fucking inmate about another inmate taking off and running. The fuck kind of shit is that?
I don't need that. Hey, fucking around right now.
Now, I'm not saying, he can't laugh about the matter. I mean, yeah, these two in private, he can bust his balls all he wants, right? They're co-workers, whatever. But when there's another inmate in the back, you don't turn and look at them and smile and laugh about the matter.
Yeah, they say it went that way. We'll go straight one. Hold up. We can't say some with inmates. I get off. With inmates. I get off. This dang light turn. See, my radio had came off in here. We go. That is man. I already called it. Oh. See, my radio had came off in here. We go. That is man. I already called it. Oh. See, my radio had came off in here. We go.
No, it did not come off on its own. You left it in there.
Oh, that is dang light taking forever. Nah, he gone. I couldn't. There was nothing wrong with it.
He had a break so you couldn't catch him, nothing.
He didn't have none of that on when he ran.
No, he took it off and was gone.
Yes. The feds.
We can't go that way
He dropped the feds off.
So he's talking about feds. Drop the feds off. Typically, your regular courthouse that deals with state charges and stuff is going to be separate than from a federal courthouse. And some jails will house federal prisoners for the U.S. Marshals. So that's kind of what sounds like what's going on here. They've got a mix of county level inmates in the back going to the state courthouse. And then they have some federal inmates in the back who need to go to the federal courthouse.
Stay locked up.
The dude.
What's up?
You can't go that way.
I couldn't catch that dude. He jumped the rail. It's on my camera, bro.
Oh, what's that, man?
He jumped the rail, kicked his shoe had came off. I been down to get his shoe. He just ran.
He took off on it, man.
Yeah. Should have had carried him to the wheelchair.
Yeah. Hey, it's
They gonna say that too.
Yeah, they gonna say that, bro. They gonna say, why y'all, you know what I'm saying?
I'm like, he had a new brace, he couldn't move his arms. That's why I ain't
Yeah,
coming.
they gonna get both of us for that, man.
Yeah.
I'm already, we gonna probably get rolled up, man.
Yeah.
We gonna get rolled up.
Yeah, I should have cuffed his ass.
Yeah. And you know what I thought
So yeah, there are times, I guess, where there are times where write-ups are needed. But there's other times that they're not needed at all. Now, this is an obvious a write-up kind of occurrence. But the way they're talking about write-ups and they're laughing, so this is a common thing within the correctional world, or jail world, if you will. Since these entities will practically use anybody to work in them, there is a lot of labor management type of issues when you have people like that. And the leadership within these places is not always the greatest. But on that same token, the employees also, not all of them are always the greatest. And so a lot of these places have basically adopted a fear type of leadership where they threaten people with write-ups all the damn time. you typically don't see or hear people in other industries talk about write-ups like that, like street cops. There are, write-ups and, law enforcement and being at the street level and stuff, but it's not threatened and used to the level that it is within the jails and the prisons. Like I said, the jails and the prisons kind of use write-ups as their way of managing their employees. They try to manage them through fear. And just the way they're talking about write-ups and everything and kind of laughing about it, that tells me that this is, the kind of thing that probably goes on with their entity. Is it's always write-ups. Like, you can get write-ups for the dumbest fucking shit. Him, having a cell phone in this pouch right here, that could be a write-up. I mean, I have no idea if it is or not for this particular agency, but I mean, there it is, a bunch of goofy shit that people end up getting write-ups over, and they're not needed, right? Like that, you don't need a write-up for something minor like that, but a lot of places, a lot of jails, they do that to try and put fear into the people who are working for them, because it's, one, the leadership in there is not the greatest. They don't know how to lead people. And then two, some of the people who work there are just shit. And you do have to do that with some people and build a paper trail to be able to fire them.
Okay, touch it for my first one, dude.
So I guess at some point he's become cognizant of the fact that it's still recording, and they're talking a lot about it, and probably what they're saying they know is being recorded, and it's going to end up being used against him. So he ends up trying to turn his camera off. So this dude looks like he is wanted for residential burglary, theft of services, possessing instruments of crime, obstructing governmental operations, and possession of a firearm by certain persons. So that probably says that he's a convicted felon. He's not supposed to be in possession of a firearm. Or it could mean that he's had some type of EPO DVO on, an active EPO DVO on him, and he's in possession of that. But most likely it probably means he has a felony in his background. And for someone who is doing burglaries and shit like that, that's not uncommon. A lot of these assholes have an extensive criminal background. This is obviously not his first run-in with the police, and it's not going to be his last run-in with the police. People like this are what you call frequent flyers. They are in and out of the system throughout their entire life, and a lot of them, it mostly starts when they're juveniles, right before turning as a teenager, and definitely as they're in their teenage years. Not much else to say about this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.